Geno, these spurts that happen to various players various times in the game, offensive, are they planned or they just happen?
I don't know that they're planned. I think they are a result of what they do at practice in their own individual way. Like, this is what, when I have the ball in this situation, this is what I like to do. So every day in practice, they're finding out, like, where's my spot on the court? Where do I like to go when I get it? And against USC, AZ said, I don't want to go to those spots. And when I get there, I don't want to shoot it. And tonight she said, I'm going to find my spots and I'm going to score. So it's, again, you can lay it all out, draw it all up, give them the, all the directions and instructions, but it's all in their interpretation of it. We try to, we will run some stuff, to get people touches, but then what happens after that is completely on them.
You always talk to her about being aggressive, and it seems so easy.
Yeah.
They're not robots either.
No.
So.
No, they're not, and that's, to me, always the unknowing, unknowable. I know what you can do, but that doesn't mean you're absolutely going to do it exactly when we need you to do it. Yeah, if I turn on my computer, it'll be there exactly when I want it to be. It doesn't work like that, with people. So when it does, it's just, incredible to watch.
Is there something you see in her?
I could tell right away. Jamel brought it up too. She said, AZ was really locked in during your pregame talk. She was, in a good place. And then when we went out there and I saw the way she was warming up a little bit, you could tell it was just a different body.
Is it different last year she had a really tough shooting game, it could have really created her confidence.
Yeah.
She even said that night, though, she wanted to leave that in Spokane. Are you seeing that kind of flipping the switch a little bit more peacefully this year from her?
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, obviously. And when you think about how much basketball she's missed in her career at UConn, she hasn't had those opportunities to flip the switch. It's happening for her later. So I guess, you shouldn't expect someone who hasn't had that many reps. Forget how many times you've been doing it in practice. You got to be in live action game stuff. So the more games she's played now, high level, like this level game, Final Four, consequences, you don't play great, season's over, those kind of games. She's a competitor. She's a tough kid, and she loves to compete. And tonight was easy fun.
I know we keep bringing up 30 years ago with you, but did this remind you a little bit of that Stanford semifinal where you guys went into that game? Everybody thought it was going to be a close game, and you pretty much got whatever you wanted to get.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like that game, because in that game we were the slight underdogs, I think, because we had never been in that scenario before. Stanford had been a bunch of times, and everyone was, really impressed, as they should have been, with Stanford's lineup, and Kara Walters, who was only a sophomore at the time, just completely dominated the game. And we talked about that going into this game. Kara Walters was the original Lauren Betts. Like, you couldn't guard her. Like, we had the ultimate weapon. You come down the floor, and what's the first option on offense? Throw it to Kara. What's the second option? Throw it to Kara. And so in that game, for her to have that kind of game, and then here it was just the opposite. Here we needed to have a Kara Walters kind of defensive game by Jenna and Ice and everybody else who was in that situation. And it's amazing how it played out. And when you go in there, you don't expect it, hey, we're going to win by 35 points tonight. I mean, that's, oh my God, that's just so unrealistic. And it just snowballed for them too. I mean, I think people underestimate how quickly we play. I think they look at our kids and they don't look like anything special. I mean, they don't scare anybody individually when they walk in the gym, right? But I think they're surprised at our pace of play. And, you know, if you're not able to get buckets at your end, the pressure that we put on you because we keep scoring just is demoralizing a little bit. That does remind me of some teams that we've had in the past where the talk was about our defense. And tonight, I mean, our defense was incredible. But we don't have any right to be that good a defensive team because given the, you know, the youth of some of our guys, they were bigger than us at every possession today when they went out there. But we're coming down the floor, and there's a bucket from that guy, and one from that guy, and one from that guy. And this one's a three, and that one's a pull-up jump shot. That one's a layup. And now you come down, and the pressure on you to score is immense. And I think sometimes people, you know, they watch film or whatever, but being out there in real time, I think we catch some people by surprise. I don't think we'll catch South Carolina by surprise. We may have caught them by surprise back in Columbia, but that was fun.
So what did you go? Like, you guys been here for so long, but it's only this your first real season playing after her injury and coming to freshman early. What's your performance weight in her first ever March Madness on Final Four stage? I mean, is that impressive how quickly she adapted to this role?
She's been a little bit better, you know, a little bit better here and there. In spots. She is learning on the fly. I had a long conversation, a hard conversation with her the other day about what we needed. And, you know, sometimes you forget that she's so young and hasn't experienced any of this. I mean, she didn't grow up watching this stuff, you know, like all these other kids did. So we knew when we signed Jenna that this was the reason that we need a presence like that to help us overcome what we haven't been able to overcome. You know, some of the players that are kind of the dominant in South Carolina's had a couple of them, obviously. So today she became everything that we envisioned of her coming here. The offensive end, that's going to take some time, I think.
I know they're different teams, but did you take anything from when you played them last year? Because they got off to a fast start against you, built a big lead. Was there something you saw there that you knew you couldn't let happen again?
The coaches told me not to watch that game. Like, generally speaking, when we're really, really bad, I don't watch it. So coming home from the game, I never watched that game. I was hoping the season would end, like right then and there. And so they told me, it's worse than you think. So I tried to remember how bad it was, and it was just god-awful. And I knew we're a different team. Like, we're not even remotely like that team. And that it would be different, you know. The only thing we were concerned about, that I was concerned about, is we're going to play arm bets one-on-one, and we're going to give our guys an opportunity to see what they can do. We'll help them a little bit, but we're not sacrificing leaving some of the guys on the perimeter to go guard her. And if she gets 30 and she gets 35, and that's the way it's going to have to go. As long as we keep scoring, we're going to keep guarding her that way. And I always thought we're a much, much better offensive team this year than we were last year, and I knew that would be the difference.
Well, last year was one of those shitty Final Four teams, right?
Yeah.
Really disappointing.
Yeah. I know, and that's why it's so gratifying to be here with a somewhat sort of a well-rounded team, you know, that you can mix and match different players, and we haven't had that ability to do that.
Coach, I hate to ask you something that's not game related, but we did talk to Turner before the game, and he seemed honestly dismissive of the idea that 2 regionals was prom, even though so many of us.
Because he's a politician.
But is it frustrating from the fact that you or Vic, two of the coaches here spoke out,
absolutely.
and there's no sort of sense of urgency from the NCAA that you
There
guys
isn't.
have talked?
There isn't a sense of urgency. Yet they come on your campus all the time and ask you, you have any suggestions? And then they leave and nothing changes. If the intent, and this is how misguided they are, if the intent of two regionals was because attendance was going to be, right? They weren't sold out. So what are we accomplishing?
Yeah.
So we had 10,000 people, 9,000 in Spokane. Okay? If you have 4 regions of 9,000, isn't that better than 2 regions of 9,000? At least where I come from, that's the case. So what you're saying when you have 2 regions is you don't care if half the country can't get to a game. Basically, that's what you're saying. But yeah, you want to grow the game. I mean, come on. It makes no sense. But if you ever had an administrator that ever coached or ever played in a Final Four or regional, and you realize what the limitations are in one gym with 8, right?
Yeah.
But they don't think that way. They don't think that way. So, you know, it's up to us as coaches. Don't ask our opinion if you're going to dismiss it. At least give it some thought. And he probably thinks it's not a big deal that you fly 3,000 miles, get here Tuesday night, when the team you're playing against has been home already for 36 hours. They probably think that's not a big deal either. So then what are we trying to say? But we're in this for the student athletes. Really? That's interesting.
Sunday will be your
You know why they have 2 regionals? So they can cut costs.
Yes.
So they want to do it on the cheap. And then say how much money we're making. Isn't the NCAA great? Look at the new TV package we got. And you know how much money we're making? Yeah, because we're shortchanging the kids, right?
Yeah.
And giving them that best experience. I'd love to see how many times on the men's basketball side they go, you know, I'm not sure we should do that because we're only making $3 billion. Well, women's basketball is not there yet, but that's not the players' fault.
I don't mean to belabor the point, but also I think if the top coaches on the men's side spoke out.
Well, that's the way, see, that's one of the big differences in the way women's basketball is run today and men's basketball was run, in that you have really true basketball people making basketball decisions on the men's side. And the only people that know that are schools that have been to multiple men's and women's Final Four and can sit there and list for you the differences. Not that anybody cares. And listen, this isn't sour grapes, because I don't give a goddamn where we play, when we play, who we play, what town, because we've done it and we still end up here. So this isn't about, oh, you know, Geno's complaining. I'm not complaining about anything. I'm just telling you the student athletes, their experience sucks compared to the men's experience. But you know what? When Sedona Prince put out a thing that says we have a shitty weight room, everybody lost their mind. I've been here 24 times. I didn't know there were weight rooms at the Final Four. None of my kids has ever seen it because we don't need one. But it became a symbol of the discrepancy. Yeah, we finished Monday night and we play Friday. The guys finish Sunday and they play Saturday. But we're in this for the student athletes. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're in it for everything but the student athletes.
Well, Sunday will be your 4th game in
Last
5 days.
question.
And if a men's team that plays Sweet 16 on a Thursday will play 4 games in 13 days.
That's my point.